a child, child will run around going, I'm going to be a superhero, and believes it. You know?
Yeah.
My youngest, my son used to walk around as a 2-year-old and say, Mummy, when I have my boat, I'm going to take you, the family, and all my friends out. He just knew it. He didn't go, when I grow older, I hope I can have enough money to have a boat. I hope one day I'll have a boat. It would just, children talk about it. I want to be an astronaut,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
We allow ourselves that creative, go for anything, create the world we want,
Hmm.
and we lose that
Yeah.
and suppress that. So yeah, good tip is your truths are the opposite of your fears.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. I'm your host, Jody Krangle, and this podcast will discuss just how sound influences our behavior. I generally talk about this in the context of advertising and marketing, but there are other places this is important too. I really feel that it plays a much more important role in our lives than maybe we realize. So let's delve a little deeper. This is the second part of my interview with Kaye Doran. This is sort of going back to what you said about some of your clients purchasing some of their own sound tools. So I'm curious, do you help them figure out what to do with those sound tools once they have them? Or is there a way that they can help themselves? Not that, not that you're going to give away all your secrets or,
Oh,
whatever,
I have
but
no problems telling people how to play this
yeah,
tool. You know, this,
sure.
this is this is not about me. I have to hold people to me. No,
Yeah.
no, this is about empowering
Okay.
people and giving them
Okay.
tools to also help themselves. If they come to me for one session, or I mean, I've got people that have been coming to me for 15 plus years, and I'll go out
Yeah.
and they'll go, oh, I've booked with so and so, and I go, great, go and experience. But they come back to me.
Yeah.
But if they don't come back to me, that's okay. There's more than enough people.
Sure.
Everyone's journey is their own. But the
Oh, sure.
reason I
Yeah.
do this is to help people feel empowered and give them the tools, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so when they're at home, they know what they can do for themselves as well. It's that.
So how
that.
would you advise someone to use sound tools like that if they did purchase, let's say, a singing bowl or something like that? How can these things help them in their own environment?
The understanding of how that tool helps them. A lot of people
Hmm.
love the drum because you can play the drum quietly. You
Sure.
can belt the heck
Yeah.
out of the drum. A lot
Uh-huh.
of people really love the drum. But yeah, I get a lot of
Hmm.
people buy singing bowls as well. And it's just a matter of telling them how to use it. And it's really simple. You don't hold it like that because that
Hmm.
stops the sound. You're sort of resting it.
Yeah.
Tap the top and telling them which way puts a healing energy in and which one takes one out, so that they can sit
Sure.
there when they're feeling emotional and feel like,
Hmm.
you know what, I need, so I'll play it to bring the energy in. Oh, I want to shed that. So I'll play it that, and they just play it and just sit there. And then I get them, in particular when we're doing that, to every now and again breathe that energy into your body, because that
Hmm.
enhances
So there's
it.
where the breathing
Like,
comes in. Yeah.
they're
Okay.
so the tool itself is going to work, but why not
Hmm.
get into a relationship with it and turn up the
Hmm.
dial? And breath is so
Sure.
important, because so many people are breathing really shallowly, because in the
Hmm.
lower part of the body is all that unconscious, is all that feeling. And a lot of people don't want to feel the full brunt because there's the fear that it will devour them, and
Hmm.
they'll die, because it feels so traumatic that if they go in there alone, how the heck are they going to get out? And a lot of the time, that's when you really do need to see someone like me. Do you know what I mean? And take you through
Yeah.
the really tough places. But there's so much that
Hmm.
we can do, you know. So use the breathing every now and again when you're playing that singing bowl. Conscious intent is, as I take that breath in, I'm letting all of that sound come through me
Hmm.
and do its work, you know.
Yeah.
And using your voice. If you're feeling something, okay, I feel it. Where do I feel it in my body? And again, you can just breathe it out, or if you feel the need to sound it out, sound it out, you know.
Hmm.
If you feel a need,
Yeah.
speak it out. And this is where shadow work can come in. Shadow work is all those parts of ourselves that we've locked away that we deem as unacceptable and ugly. And they're the only way they can talk to us is actually via our emotional body. So I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough and all the rest of it, and rejection and all those sorts of things. So when we can start to understand that, then you can work with it. And if you really have gone through something with somebody, shadow work is sometimes, my eldest daughter, so wise, used to come to me as a little girl and go, "Mummy, do you ever just want to punch someone in the face?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes, sweetheart." But the thing is, feeling that you want to do it and then actioning it are two different things. You don't punch someone in the face, but hey, why don't we go get a pillow? Well, why don't we go do this so you can get that out and be true to that part of yourself that's not going to hurt anyone else, but it's going to make you feel really good at the end of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's shadow work. So here's an example. I had a woman once who was remarrying, and she came to me and she said, "Oh my God, my ex-husband, I've got no interest in being with him again, nothing like that, but he just keeps coming up and coming into my head." And I said, "Oh, really? So what is it that you feel like doing?" She goes, "I just love to shoot him. But I'm feeling guilty about that. I can't stop thinking about that." And I said, because this is shadow work. There is something from such grief and challenging experiences. So what we're going to do is we're going to call up an image of him, not him. So we're not calling on his energy, but an image of him. And you're going to shoot the bugger. Oh my God. She shot one shot and then shot a second shot and just went, "I'm good."
Okay.
And, spoke to her 2 months later. She said, "He's not even entered my thoughts at all." And I said, because all you needed to do was honor that part, that expression of you. And the problem is everyone's hiding and squashing and, then pretending to be positive. It's positive to hear it. It's positive to find a way to release and express it in a way that isn't harmful. And then it's integrated, it's heard. It doesn't need to keep knocking on our emotional body and into our mindset.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's it. It's really interesting how our minds can help heal ourselves
Yeah.
if we let it.
Yeah.
If we let
But
it.
isn't that,
Along those
I
lines.
was just going to say, that is sound healing because she spoke up.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. Yeah, because she actually put it into words. Yeah. I wanted to ask you specifically about how you help people overcome grief, because I know that's, especially now, it's a very big issue for a lot of people. So do you have any tips for people that they may be able to use to help them deal with grief and I don't know if overcome it is what happens, but deal with it, I guess.
Yeah. And, grief can be a lot of different things. The first thing is, one, acknowledge that you feel it.
Sure.
Find a way to express it. So whether that's writing, whether that's, grabbing a pillow and whatever it might be. The thing you don't want to do is talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it with, I call it gathering your army, talking about it with people that feel aligned. "Oh, yes. Isn't it terrible? Yes." Do you see how I'm doing the finger going round? It's like a whirlpool. It's like a whirlpool. Yep. What you want to be able to do, and that keeps you stuck there. So the trick is, don't gather your army. Don't keep talking about it. We want to move it through. So acknowledge it. Where do you feel it in the body? Use that breathing, and you might need to do that more than once. And use the sound and journal.
Is there a particular sound that might work really well in that case? And of the tools that you use, I'm just curious if any one of them
with the
really
actual tools
helps.
rather than their own voice.
Yeah.
Drum is great, but not everyone can afford a drum. So probably the singing bowl. You can bang the bowl, you can play the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? You can, so going
Yep.
clockwise is putting an energy in, anti-clockwise is drawing the energy out. You know, and you can tap it and bang it, and they're not that expensive.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. But you know what? If you want to, you can probably find something at home, like an ice cream container and a wooden spoon and almost
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be
That would work.
But you've got to have the intention to want to be released from the grief.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really big one. You got to have the intention.
So you're like pounding it out? Is that what's
Yeah.
is that what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
And calling your energy back to you.
Okay.
Because every time we're thinking that, we're growing neural pathways. Okay. And then it holds us into it. And then our energy is actually with that, held in that space. But also part of it is, you know, calling back your energy, calling back your spirit. So acknowledging it, breathing into it, don't gather your army, have your intention to release it. And meditation is a really powerful thing to train our mind, to train our spirit, to enhance our own insight. And, you know, asking yourself the question, what's on the other side of my grief?
It's a good question.
When I take myself through this, if I'm willing to let this move through me in a way to release it, because my intention is to be freed from it, because I am more powerful than the grief. I am more powerful than, you know, what's happening in the world. And the more that you focus on, the more that will become your world. But a beautiful question is, what's on the other side of this for me? Because that gives us the courage to keep putting a step forward towards releasing ourselves from it. You know, and another thing to understand is, you know, get support if you need support. The subconscious mind always says yes to whatever is fueling and directing it. The problem is the unconscious mind, with all our false stories and beliefs and fears, is usually what's driving it. Yeah. So, you know, that's why, again, we don't gather our armies, because that's fueling the subconscious to go, okay, so I'll keep creating in your life so you can respond from that space. Okay. But we all have the voice. Most people call it intuition. I call it the voice of power and knowing. We all have it. We just need to keep tuning into it and aligning with it, and eventually letting that become the stronger voice that gets us back into the driver's seat. So if we can understand that that's also how the mind works, that's how perception happens, that, you know, as part of that process of all the other steps I was saying take place, that's why you ask yourself that question, what's on the other side of this for me? Because that starts to spark up that super conscious mind or intuition or voice of knowing, power and potential, whichever name you want to give it, it doesn't matter. You know, how do I want to feel on the other side of this? Because that starts to spark up certain energy buttons that, okay, so you want to align to this. This is what you're moving to. Okay, great. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all these things. Yeah. But that you keep focusing on, you know, you don't have to stay stuck in it. These are just some simple things, and journal it out, and journal your fears. So here's a big one. This is really powerful. Everything I teach is really simple. You know, like I can type here, Jody, and press send, and you get your email. Seems really simple, doesn't it? But what's going on in the background is more complex than that. So
very much so.
You know, and I know, because when I started, I had children coming into the world. I didn't have time for all this complex stuff. That's when I discovered change can be really simple. It's not always easy, but simple. And we just need to bring in these new disciplines.
Are you looking for ways to improve your company's or podcast's impact? You'd be surprised how powerful the use of an intentional audio branding strategy can be. Want to know more? I have a free downloadable PDF that gives you my 5 tips for implementing an intentional audio strategy at voiceoversandvocals.com/audio-branding-strategy. That location does ask to put you on a mailing list, just to send you updates on when the new podcasts come out. But if you really don't want to give your email out, I understand. Just contact me directly. My email is all over my website, and I'll make sure you get that PDF without needing to sign up anywhere. If you do sign up, though, you also get access to a resources section called The Studio, where I have videos, white papers, and PDFs, discounts from my guests, and snippets of audio from my guests that no one else gets to hear. So maybe it's worth your while. Totally up to you. And of course, if you're looking for voiceovers, you can get in touch with me about that too. Now, back to the podcast.
But here's a really powerful one, and this is great because of what's happening in the world at the moment, and it's really sparking so much fear for people, and especially if they stay plugged into it too much. You find a friend, or you can do this via a journal. So, for example, I could say, Jody, I'm going to talk to you about my fears. I don't need you to solve anything. I don't need you to say anything. I just need you to look at me while I say it. Okay? And then I will start with, and I'll look you in the eyes and I'll say, these are my fears. They're not my truth. Okay? So perceived negatives come in from behind, stabbed in the back, all that sort of stuff. Talked about behind my back. So what we're doing is we're taking it from here, that which we're afraid of, that we feel is stalking us, and we're going eyeball to eyeball with it. We're confronting it. But we're confronting it and setting it up in a way that says, I'm more powerful than this. You can even journal it. These are my fears. They're not my truth. And then you name them. So using the example that I've set it up with you, Jody, my friend, and these are my fears. They're not my truth. I'm afraid that I'll not get another job. I'm afraid that the world is turning into an ugly place. I'm afraid that my relationship won't survive. I'm afraid that I'm not going to have the money. I'm afraid, whatever it might be, just name it. Take a big deep breath at the end of it. These were my truths. These were my fears. They're no longer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're sort of setting it up. These are my fears. They're not my truth. And then what you can do is actually go through and name your truths, which are the opposite
Now
of your fears.
that's a difference. Yeah.
And or you can journal it, but you're heading it the same way. And then you're pointing your fears, and then you're finishing it off with, these were my fears. They're not my truth. And then write down your truth. And you know what it is because it's the opposite of the fear.
I see. Okay. I was going to ask you that. I was like, well, okay, what would the truth be then? Okay.
We're always saying we don't know. When I'm coaching and working with healing, people go, I don't know what I want. Yes, you do. If there was nothing in your way, money wasn't a worry, or you weren't afraid, or, whatever it might be, don't think about it logically. And then everyone knows. And they say, oh, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people can't argue, money's not a factor. And we've got to start allowing to develop that creative side again, because that's the part of our knowing. A child will run around going, I'm going to be a superhero, and believes it.
Yeah.
My youngest, my son used to walk around as a 2-year-old and say, Mummy, when I have my boat, I'm going to take you, the family, and all my friends out. He just knew it. He didn't go, when I grow older, I hope I can have enough money to have a boat. I hope one day I'll have a boat. Children talk about it. I want to be an astronaut. We allow ourselves that creative, go for anything, create the world we want, and we lose that and suppress that. So good tip is your truths are the opposite of your fears.
That is a very good tip. Yes. I love the idea of actually stating it out loud, I think, because I think, like a lot of our lofty goals, if we don't actually put them into on paper or speak them, or then they have less power. They draw us less.
Yeah. And
so, yeah.
That's so true. And so many people, are stating, oh, your fear's like your enemy. It's a negative. No. And a lot of the time when people are up leveling their lives, fear turns up to say, hey, girl, you're heading in the right direction. But you're going to have to change and grow,
Yeah.
So
I've heard someone say that fear is actually a good thing because it tells you that there's something you're going to have to overcome, and helps guide you, because it's supposed to protect you.
Yeah.
And so if it's supposed to protect you, then what is it protecting you from? And when you realize what it's protecting you from, and you can get right down to the nitty-gritty of what that is, then you can decide if you want to go over it and through it, or if you want to let it dictate what you do.
Yeah, beautiful. I say put it in the passenger seat of your life, because whenever you're going to up level, when you've got an aspiration for change in a given area of your life, it's because you haven't done it. You need to grow into that. So, and some of this stuff is designed to pull us back into our safety net, which actually doesn't feel like a comfort zone at all. It's uncomfortable. But yeah, when you know that fear turns up in those moments, you're going to have to let go of. Sometimes it's a relationship, sometimes it's a job, sometimes it's attitude and mindset, emotions, whatever it might be. But you're going to have to let go of something that you're really comfortable with. You might have to let go of anger, whatever it might be. And that's what fear's telling you. Hey, you're going to have to change, and you're going to have to push through. And when we can understand that it is our signpost, and I love the way that you put it as well, that's when I say, have you ever been on a road trip with a really annoying friend?
I think every single one of us has been. Yes.
That's what it's a little bit like. But the more you keep taking action, those voices will quieten and quieten and quieten. Do you know what I mean? But it becomes a negative when we judge all these different elements and feelings as a negative, and then people are going, oh, I need to be positive, and then they're being a false positive because they're actually denying it, trying to squash it down, not let it exist. And like this whole conversation we've been having is about, well, how can we let all these aspects have a voice and release? How can we move through in wholeness?
Well, you can't release something until you acknowledge it's there.
Exactly. And that's the positive moment. Oh, I'm facing my fears. Oh, I'm facing my insecurity. Oh, I've got to go in and reclaim her. And stop letting, you wouldn't let a child drive your car, would you?
No.
But a lot of people are doing that. They're putting their child elements out into their life to fight their battles.
Yeah, not very successfully.
No. And you know what? Yeah. Also with grief, listen to music that uplifts you. Listen to podcasts that feed and nurture you, the information, the tools that you need. Listen to the music that soothes and uplifts it. Whatever you can, put things around you that inspire you to the other side of that grief. The sound.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The sounds, the smells, the colors, the images, the words. But they all you, calling you through to that end result. Yeah,
I love that. Thank you for that. I think that'll help a lot of people. Do you have resources that people can check out? Is there anything particular on your website that you would suggest people have a look at?
Yeah, sure. So on my website, on the homepage, I'm so excited. This has recently just been put up there. A workshop that I've run for 15 years called Power Up Your Life. I've turned into a free resource.
Okay.
So you just fill out the details. I'm not going to be spamming you. I'm not going to be harassing you. That's not who I am. But what it'll do is it'll give you the link for 3 videos. So I talk you through the workshop, and then there's a workbook. And that's going to help you uncover some of your limiting patterns, responses, beliefs, words, and then sort of realign you to the other and take you through how you can set up successfully going for certain goals and things that you want to go for, or get to the other side of grief, or just power up your life. And of course, because you've got the videos to work through, you can, just pause and take your time to go through it. Then under the page of resources, I've got 3 guided meditations. And meditation really is the foundation for all change, because it disciplines the mind. It brings us back into the now. We become the witness, we create change. And there are 3 there that are free, and for all 3 different reasons and 3 different timeframes. Yeah. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Is there anything that you're working on particularly, like right this moment, that you want to talk about?
Well, I'll be launching, I'm taking on people for my coaching for next year. I'm doing a 12-week program called the Launching Pad, and I only take 8 women because I need to give you the time, the support, the energy that you deserve. So I find if I do it with a group that's bigger, people will get lost in the shadows and not speak up, and you can't give them that time. But I'd also do that program as a one-on-one as well. But I'm really wanting before the end of the year to launch something called Meditation and Insight. And we can do it globally because we'll do it via Zoom for 8 weeks, where I'll take people through guided meditation and gain insights and plug you into your own sense of knowing and expanding your energy, and really getting people prepared over the 8 weeks for the next year, because people are going to be in a lot of fear as to 2020 hasn't been a fabulous year for so many, and a lot of people are worried about what's in the world next year, and that one's a really, really, really inexpensive investment. That's for anyone that just wants to come on board and to get to know or feel and do a little bit of work with me. So that one's going to be launching for November as well. That'll take us through to December, and well and truly armed for 2021.
That'll be very good. Yes. So how can people find out more about you? Can you talk about your website?
Yeah, my website.
Let them know where they can find you?
Yeah, Kaye Doran, so KayeDoran for November.com. Beautiful website. I'm actually really, really happy with it. But you can also go on to Facebook and find me under Kaye Doran, or Inner Expressions is my business name, because I believe that true leadership, or I know it, starts from within, and then how we express ourselves out into the world. So Inner Expressions. And I do Facebook Lives on there, and, put up bits of information and things like that to support. And I also have a Facebook group that people can join called Rise and Shine Women, because I do believe it's
wonderful
linking arms, and all of us, elevating ourselves.
We need more of that.
Yeah.
We need more of that in the world right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And, there's room for all of us to rise and room for all of us to shine. We're all uniquely, individuals, but all doing the journey.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. This has been really, really calming, actually, strangely enough.
That's lovely. And we had a very fun start, and yay to both of us for being so calm through those technical challenges.
We figured it out.
We had a good laugh.
It'll
I think
all
that's
work.
what it's about,
It is indeed, yes.
So thank you so much, Jodie, for the opportunity to have had this conversation with you.
I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available on all the usual outlets. Until next time.